Good afternoon or evening, everyone. I hope you've all had a beautiful day. It was nice and sunny after a couple of cloudy days here in Utah, and I do love that sun. Oh my goodness, it's definitely sunnier over here in Tooele Valley than it was in the Salt Lake Valley, and I'm just so grateful for it every sunny day. So today is our second foray into this new format for the garden planner. So let's just jump right in. I took a quick peek while we were waiting to make sure I was ready with the checklist here. And so for this month, there are technically five pieces or pieces of 5 weeks, right? But we only have 4 Mondays. And so if ever you're wondering about that, that's what determines how many weeks there are for our format as the garden planner is really about how many classes we have that week, okay? Or that month, excuse me. And so we're in our weekly checklist and we're going into that second week. And that is all mapping and measurement. So week 2, mapping and measurement. You want to look through the methods that we'll talk about today. There are 3 different ways to look at it that we've outlined. Of course, I'm sure there are numerous other ways one could go about doing it. And then you want to take that and start practicing in your spaces. And Benny, when you were talking with us yesterday about where you were with your planning, I think that this would be a really great place for you to start, especially where you're kind of wanting to look at your whole property. You might start with a small segment or whatever, like we talked about. You said your backyard was really nice and sunny, you think year round, but this mapping tool will give you that visualization. That's how I started here on our new property, is we went out and mapped it and was just a real rough estimate just to get an idea on paper. And then I taped a whole bunch of graph paper together in about 6 sheets, I believe. And I think I've shown you guys that map, but it is something that really helped me to formalize my thoughts about what I wanted to do on this property. So what do you think about that? Stepping in and going out and using one of these tools or more, or something different. Of course, if you're mathematically or geography and geometry inclined, there's definitely going to be more than one choice out there, more than 3 choices. But do you think that might help you to take those next steps forward?
Yes, that sounds like a plan.
Absolutely. And Miss Tammy, you've talked about wanting to measure your properties. So what do you think? Shall we all commit to measuring our properties this week? I'll go out and we'll get a more formal measurement utilizing one of these methods to just walk through the process with you guys again and be ready when anybody's asking questions, and also for you guys to start touching on the things that you've wanted to do or helping you to do the things that you wanted to do. For you, Benny, not necessarily thinking about measuring out and mapping out what you had, but trying to plan, and you're getting kind of stuck. Going out and all 3 of us and anyone else that wants to join us mapping our spaces. Does that sound like something that we should commit to this week?
My husband's down.
Yeah? How about you,
Yeah.
Mr. Benny?
Yeah, definitely something I could do.
All right. And so we'll plan to meet back next week with our not trying to be perfect, but our rough measurements of our properties, right? All right. Wonderful. And so that's what we're going to cover today in a little bit of depth so that you can see some of the tools that are out there and choose one or make a search that fits your needs a little bit better. All right. And so here we are, January week 2. And Measuring the Garden, your guide to rewilding and traditional garden planning. Whether you're planning a traditional garden or a rewilded space, the first step is always to get to know your land. The methods and tools may be different, but the goal is the same, to be a thoughtful and intentional gardener. And we're going to add in that successful, right? That's one of the real keys we're trying for, to feel really in charge of what we're doing, as well as to generate more success with our efforts, because we're able to really keep that idea of what needs to be done throughout the year in front of our thoughts, right? 1, measuring your space. It's more than just a number. Start by looking at articles that teach you how to measure your garden. The key takeaway here is that you don't need fancy tools to get started. And there should be articles that have already kind of gone out and that will be coming out that will bolster what we're talking about in here. So definitely keep an eye out for those articles, blogs, different things that we have that we've found to support everything that we talk about here in each week's class for each month. All right, the basics. The article, How to Measure Your Garden from Select Living Group teaches us the simplest method, breaking down a complex shape into a bunch of little rectangles. This gives you a quick and easy way to get a baseline for your space. A more precise approach, How to Measure Out Your Garden from Veg Plotter, introduces us to the idea of using triangulation to get a more accurate map. This map is great for mapping out existing features like trees or rock formations. And the techie way. Oh, let's edit that really quickly right there where we see it. This video on Google Earth Pro shows us how to get a bird's eye view of our spaces. This is a super cool way to map out things like sunlight, shade, and water flow without even leaving your desk. All right, and each one of these is a very different approach. That was a little bit of the point, to really give you guys a broad spectrum of ways that you could go about it so that you feel comfortable and confident mapping out your own spaces. Measuring your garden the easy way. For simple shapes, the rectangle method, grab a measuring tape, pencil, and paper. Imagine your garden as a big puzzle and draw lines to break it up into smaller, simple shapes, like rectangles, squares, and triangles. Measure the length and width of each of those shapes. Multiply the length by the width for each rectangle or square to get its area. For a triangle, multiply the base by the height and then divide by 2. Add up the area of all your little shapes to get the total size of your garden. Oh my gosh, I think that I would get so overwhelmed with already the shaping of this land is so unique and there's so many different little structures that this to me would not work out very well. What do you guys think? Do either of you like this method here as an option?
The rectangle method, the triangular method, what method are you talking about?
This is the rectangle method where we just are doing the basic shapes. This is called the rectangle method, and the next is the triangulation method, but even though the word triangle is in there, it's not the same kind of a process. It's going to be.
Can you show us like a diagram of what that would look like? Or like show a picture of what a square method would look like?
Let's see. Let's go up to the article. How about that?
Yeah. Because I'll be drawing a triangle on my property. And be like, that looks good to me.
All right, let's go over and check out this article. Oh no, and it's not going to be there. Sometimes they do that and they don't leave the information that you were trying to get. So let's see about the rectangle method. No. Okay. Well, that's really unfortunate. Select Living Group UK. Let's see if we can just find a good garden measuring, the rectangle method. See if we can't find a good article.
Is it kind of like what it's like? Is it like a raised bed or something, like in a triangular shape, or like I've heard of the quilt method, the quilt shape method. I don't know
if you've heard of that. It sounds like it might be quite comparable. I did find the article, strangely enough, so I'll get that corrected, but I found the article and it's How to Measure Your Garden. Whether you're building a new deck or laying an artificial grass lawn, it's important to measure the area you want to cover carefully. Measuring in advance will ensure you order the right amount of material, which can save you time and money. And even when we're talking about our gardens, that is definitely true. Artificial grass lawn, those have forever chemicals. They're really yucky, really, really yucky. I cannot recommend against them more strongly than to say never, never, never would I put forever chemicals in my own backyard. Here are the steps in a nutshell. Break your planned area into rectangles. Calculate the area of each rectangle. Add the results of all rectangular areas together. Okay, so let's correct this because that is not how it's mentioned here for, I mean, you might have to have a triangle, but let's say that triangles could only be used when absolutely necessary. Okay. All right, now going back to our article. Let's see something I can find. Now you've added all those different rectangles together. A nice simple rectangle. If your area happens to be a straightforward rectangle, lucky you. And then they're going to walk you through that. Mine is not. I'm pretty sure Tammy's is not. With an acre, perhaps there's some of that for you, Benny, right? And so divide your garden into rectangles. If your garden is a more complex shape, you can start by breaking it down into rectangles. Measure the length and width of each rectangle and multiply to get the area for each rectangle. Then add each rectangular area together to get the total area. Okay, so this is an example here, right? That's a good example. As a general rule, it's normally best to select rectangular areas based on the longest sides of your plan as below. Interesting, longest sides of your plan. I'm not sure if I quite understand exactly what they mean. There, this is the longest side, this is the longest, but this is the longest side. So perhaps you are going to be in line with the longest line, is what they're saying, which is what I see here. More complex shapes. Unfortunately, gardens are rarely so simple, geometrically speaking. There are often curves, wedges, and weird shapes that you have to work with. For these more complex shapes, you need to calculate the area of a bounding rectangle. The best way to do this is to break up the shapes as before, then imagine how that shape fits into a rectangle. Interesting, right? Oh, that's a big piece. So in order to make that work, they didn't just make a big, huge cube. They broke it down into two smaller rectangles, right? Then, as before, calculate the area of each rectangle and add them together. Interesting. Depending on the shapes you have and the amount of excess in your bounding rectangle, you may end up with excess material that you can fit into other shapes. It's always best practice to order more material than you need, just in case there's a mistake made during installation. Excess material can also be used to make cool side projects like patio furniture. All right, very interesting. So any questions about that method now? Does that help you to better visualize how you would use that method, Tammy?
Maybe if I saw a video, I just see like lines and stuff, you know. I need to like visually
So
see
don't
it.
you sometimes share the Google Earth picture of your property?
Yeah, I do.
Do you want to share that and I could show
You can
you?
just type my address in and then
Okay.
you can just, yeah.
Oh gosh, I hate to do that though. If you, well, but then
You
I
can just stop sharing your screen and then just,
okay.
you know.
Hold on, don't say anything and I will go do that because I have it in my address book, right? So, okay, let me grab that, pull up a different browser really quickly.
It looks like a baseball field. Take me out to
Oh,
the
so yours should be relatively easy then. That actually makes it much more
Yeah,
simple.
it's like it looks like a baseball field, like the round. That's why when I go back there, I think it's like a baseball field. And in the front, it's more of like, rectangular, no, but it could I could pretty much do anything, but I don't know what I'm trying to do. I need to get a visual of what I need to do. Like look at ideas. Sometimes when you have a big property, it just gives you more ideas and like I want to do that, do this and do that, but like, I don't know if it's going to do good there.
Okay, I have to install the free Earth search extension for Google Chrome.
Done. Click the Add to Chrome button, then click Add Extension to continue.
Okay.
Hello, Alexa.
Interesting. I don't think that's Alexa. I think that's Gemini.
I can get off my Discord. I've been trying to do an up review of my house and try to figure out what I'm going to be doing, but I can try to give you an image if you can't find it.
You're fine. I don't understand what they're telling me here. Type Earth to begin. Oh, okay. And I'm not sharing my screen still, right? Yeah, okay. Type in Earth plus any location. Let's see. Okay. Now, fill in. Okay, and so, so this curvature shows your property line. Is that right? You're muted if you're, oh wait, you can't see probably.
Yeah, you need to share your screen. I was talking
There
to
we go.
myself.
Okay, well, you were talking to yourself and I was sharing to myself, so that seems
Yes.
balanced.
Oh, that
Okay.
is, yep, that's my property. So
Okay,
that
so,
round
and
thing is,
it's the curve, right? Is that
yes,
right? Okay,
that
so
curve and
use,
then past
hold
that
on just
curve
a
is my
second, let me
property
see.
too.
I think I should
You
be
can
able,
zoom in a lot more.
let me do this actually, because I can make straight lines with my snipping tool. So let me pull this up because this,
And we might not have to measure, go outside. We could do it like this and
well,
do
if
like,
you want real life
yeah.
sizes, that's where you would need it, but I can show you the method here, okay?
Yeah, and
And
it'd be
if
good
you
if I
go
buy
out and get the lines measured, then you'll have a better idea. Okay, so let's do this, and we're gonna just take a little bit larger there.
I need to get one of those wheel survey things that you have that you said that you use
Mhm.
to measure. Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing that as well. Yes. And so now let's pull this up. Okay. And I'm going to make it a lot larger. Can I do that? Control-V. Let me get all these toolbars out of my way. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a straight line right here at the edge of your property. Now it won't draw.
Actually, that's not the end of my property. So like that's just where the fencing ends. So even beyond that is my
Oh, well,
property.
that's why I asked you if the
Yeah, but
curve.
that's just an overview of my house. But like I
Mhm.
said, that's why I need to get a land survey because I don't know how far my property goes out once
Okay.
I
Well,
get
let's do what you know for sure right now.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my property and anything outside that is my property too as well. So I have a whole acre.
That's awesome. You and Benny both. Okay, so we're gonna
Consisting of dirt. Well, at least Benny has snow, He has something to look at. I have nothing but dirt and wind.
do. I haven't figured out why sometimes it gives me straight lines, sometimes it gives me arrows, but it's a work in progress. Okay, so this would have to be out a little bit more though. And I think, let's do this a different way. Let's break it into a couple of different boxes, okay? I'm gonna go here, here instead. And that'll give us better straight boxes.
Like the field of dreams, you guys. You build it, they'll come. The grants will come.
All right. That's too long. That's great. Okay, perfect. Actually. Now, this is the straight rectangle area. Let's actually move this back just, oh, it didn't let me. Okay. Here instead. I think this is.
Yeah, right there where your end part, you're gonna fall off the cliff. That's not my property. Just like the fencing, that's where my cutoff, because that's a hill down there.
So this is an area that you would measure as a rectangle, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then you would have extra that would be outside of it because your property is really like maybe here ending, and then
Oh no,
perhaps
that's
all
all of that. The only part that you kind of have wrong is the right side, that where you just ended. That's like down the hill. So where you see where the fencing, that I see what you're saying. It's just that the end part of where the trying the outline that you have at the end, that's kind of not my property.
Oh, this is not like your driveway right here?
This is my driveway where you see the car, my
Uh-huh.
house, and that's the side of the yard.
Right. So if you wanted to measure for your whole yard,
Daryl, how do I explain that? That out there is not my property because that's the hill area.
this right here is not?
That is the other side, the right side.
Yeah,
Right
but
here.
I'm saying that that's how you use a rectangular method. That doesn't matter. You're
Oh,
going to
okay.
have some overage. That's what it said in the article, remember? And then that's where if you were doing something horrible like artificial grass, you'd have a little bit of extra because it goes outside of your area. Does that make
Okay.
sense? But this is still how you use the rectangle method. And then you would measure this area.
Gotcha.
Then,
Even though if it's not that long, I can shorten it, right? Because it's too long because I have a
That's
cliff.
interesting.
Yeah, I get what you're saying though.
I've been trying to explain this to Tammy for a long time. She keeps telling me to go out there and manually take measurements. I'm like, Tammy, we could literally take measurements on Google Earth. I don't need to go do it,
well,
manually. We could
but
do it
you
with
can't to scale measure right here.
Yeah. So we're
That's
trying to
the
do.
difference. So you have
what do
to,
you got?
but this is the area that you would measure as a rectangle to use the rectangle method. But you'd have to walk this to get to scale measurement for it.
Gotcha. I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Or you could using a rectangle method, sure, but I'd like to do the line by line method because you could go on Google Earth and measure the distance from one point to another. You could
Oh,
take that.
definitely. This is
You could
just,
take
Tammy
that
wanted to, this is just about the rectangle method,
Yeah,
right? That's what
doing.
we're saying. There are
Yeah.
tons of different methods that can be utilized.
Yeah.
But we have 3 covered.
Yeah, he just came in.
Totally.
Yeah, so he doesn't know what we're talking about. Okay, now I do understand though. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you do the same thing for the other. This would be like a little square right here, right? And then you'd have this rectangle like right here. And then you'd have another little perhaps rectangle here or something. And then you have almost a cube right here. So it's not to be perfect. The style of method is not about perfection at all, right? And so that's just what you would do. You would measure it. Oh, and let me actually get the article where we found the actual correct article. Here. Okay. We did all this extra stuff. Thank you. No. Okay. And
My husband was saying maybe with the rectangle you cut it to make it triangle. So maybe that's a triangle method.
That's how you can measure.
I don't know.
no, the triangulation method is something
Cut a
different.
rectangle in half.
Oh, it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so jump over here and correct the article here. Why is it not letting me paste it? Yes, I understand that's what it is. I would like it to be something different, please. Okay, maybe I didn't copy it. I'm pretty sure I copied it. All right, now I know I did. Oh, weird. It will not let me paste it. So bizarre. Okay. Now it's not going to let me change the color of it. Okay, we'll live with it. It'll survive. It at least is accurate, right? So then when you're talking about the triangulation method, that's a totally different method. You're going to use three things to triangulate, all right? So you draw a rough sketch of your garden space on a piece of paper. It literally can be extraordinarily rough. And let me just show you an example of how rough one that I did just to scratch it out in front of, I think, Jess Clifford to give him an idea of what was going on. I can't remember for certain though. Anyway, this is obviously an extremely rough sketch out of what I have going on. It does not have to be perfect. Okay, so you draw a rough sketch of your garden space on a piece of paper. Find a long straight line in your garden, like a fence, the side of your house, or a straight garden path. This is your baseline. Measure the exact length of this baseline and mark it on your sketch. Now, for every key spot in your garden, like the corner of a shed or a favorite tree, measure the distance from that spot to both ends of your baseline. Use those two measurements to pinpoint the exact location of that key spot on your sketch. And so that's not a very good explanation. I am not great with math. And so let's jump into our article again. And it's not going to give us the correct article. So let's just grab the correct article. All right. How to measure your garden, the tried and tested approach. Let's make sure that this is going to be the triangulation, rough sketch. Yes, okay. To measure any garden, you will need three items: some paper, a pencil or pen, and a measuring device. The most popular options for measuring devices include a tape measure. If you have a tape measure long enough to capture most measurements in your garden, then this is your best option. You can, of course, mark a point and then measure again if your tape measure isn't long enough as well. Note, if you don't have a tape measure long enough, you could create your own using rope or string. Just mark out distances using a ruler, etc. Your legs, strides. Our preferred way to measure distance, as it provides the most flexibility, is extremely quick, even if it can be the least accurate. Here you walk out the distance, counting your strides as you go. You then measure your average stride length by walking out strides for a known distance, and then divide that distance by the number of strides. This will give you the average distance for each stride. You then multiply the number of strides counted when measuring a distance by your stride distance to get the actual distance for that measurement. Okay, I'd have to put that into practice to try to figure that one out. If you have a tape measure long enough to capture most measurements in your garden, then this is your best option. You can, of course, mark a point and then measure again if your tape measure isn't long enough too. Method, step one, start with a rough sketch. Here is an example of the rough sketch I did of the Veg Plotter HQ garden. Start by sketching out the shape of the garden and include the key features in roughly the positions that they sit. You don't need to worry about drawing it accurately to scale right now. We are only creating the rough backdrop to add our measurement notes to. Here is the section of the rough sketch showing the reference line I used in my garden. Step 2, identify your reference line and measure it. Here we chose a line in your garden that we will use as the reference. This should be a straight line, such as a part of the boundary, the wall of a shed, or the side of a vegetable bed. Measurable, accessible, i.e. from each end, you can measure other points of your garden, and the longer the straight line is, the better. A longer reference line will improve the accuracy of the position for the other measurements you take. The power of triangulation. Measure this reference line and record that on your rough sketch. Here is the rough sketch with key points marked with crosses. Okay, they've marked all these places they're going to measure from their baseline with. Step 3, identify the key structures of your garden and measure. Identify the structures of your garden and the key points for each. These can be sheds, greenhouses, hedges, vegetable beds, etc. Be mindful of their shape, as this will help determine how to measure them and their position. For example, rectangular structures such as sheds and greenhouses. Here you only need to use the 2 closest corners to your reference line as the key points. Irregular structures. Here it is best to take measurements for each corner. For circular structures, you can use the center as the key point. Now, for each structure of your garden, you can take the following measurements. The distance to each key point to both ends of your reference line. Measure the size of the structure. Width and length for rectangular shapes, diameter or radius for circular shapes. No extra measurements are needed for irregular shapes if you've measured all corners as key points. Okay, include all these measurements on your rough sketch or note them on a separate piece of paper. Where's our example, guys? Because I could really use an example with that one, and it doesn't have one. Step 4, translate to a scale drawing plan. This is where we use the measurements taken to draw out the layout of your garden to scale. In this part, we will focus on laying out your plan in VegPlotter's Vegetable Garden Planner, but the principles apply equally to drawing out your plan on paper or any other drawing tool. Start by adding the structure with the reference line that you used when measuring out your garden bed. Here, I use the central raised vegetable bed. Okay, that makes sense. Then, for each structure, you add in, drag on the structure, and set its size as per your measurements. You then need to position it as described in the next section below. For rectangles and circles, it is easy as you enter the width and length or diameter. You then need to position it as described in the next section below. For irregular shapes, setting the position of each corner as described below will set the size. Setting the position of each key point. This is just a case of measuring from each point on the reference line to the point you want to position. Where each line meets, joins, is the position of that point. If you do the same for each key point, the shape will then be in position. Using VegPlotter's Garden Planner, you can use a length of the fencing structure to measure distances on the plan. Just delete them when you are done. Okay. So here's our central garden bed, and they've positioned all of the other things based on this reference line, I believe. One of these two, they're kind of the same. So interesting. The words confuse me, but I think I would understand how to make use of this. What did you guys think?
In regards to what, Sabrina, about the measuring thing, everything, I'm not good with numbers, so this measuring thing, my husband does all that stuff, but it does seem a little complicated, but I guess when you do it, after a while, it just, probably comes second nature,
I would guess so, right?
Yeah, because it's your design,
Well, it kind of brings me
Kind of.
to geometry class, which was pretty challenging for me.
Yeah, I think I failed that class.
I didn't make it to geometry, just being completely straight with you guys, right? Okay, so let me actually change what I did up here. And I'm going to leave the article after it like this. That'll be cleaner and I think better. Okay, so now we're going to look at the techie way. The Google Earth Pro method. Open Google Earth Pro on your computer. Well, luckily we've got it right there. Use the measurements tool in the program to digitally walk your garden's perimeter. Use the same tools to find the square footage of your space, map out areas you want to keep as wild grass, and identify spots for new projects. Okay, so let's see if we can still, no, that's not going to work. So let's jump into our extensions. We'll just close this for the moment. What is this over here? Here it is, Google Earth. Okay, so then let's find, so now, okay, let's go back to our explanation there. Open Google Earth Pro on your computer. Find your house and garden on the map. So this is what your husband was talking about, Tammy. This is what Daryl was talking about. There are tools, it says in here, that you can walk the perimeter.
I think my husband's just lazy. He doesn't want to walk it. I'm kidding.
No, it is. Don't have the right tools for that.
Yeah.
I don't have I need a surveyor's wheel
Yeah.
for that.
That's what we were talking about. Yeah, so that's something I need to purchase because I want to know how big my property is. I know it says it on paper, but I kind of want a feel of it, versus the number.
Okay. You're having,
Are you designing my $1 million home?
I'm trying to just figure out what the heck we're talking about. Okay, so we're going to put it in square feet. Okay, what if I wanted to, what if you said it's an acre? What if we did it in miles? Square yards perhaps will be better. You have 147 square yards, I think, and I don't know. I am just beyond
Like if
completely.
you go to like Zillow or whatever, my house is still listed. It'll tell you the I have it on my Discord. I was trying to find out my soil and it gave me all this information on my, the dirt that's in my area. I'll send it to you. But yeah, I was just focusing on the dirt, my property, and then I ran into a lot of cool things and but I didn't do this, but yeah, it's a lot of like it's like planning. It's a lot of work when you have a big property, you know, just doing this.
Is a
And you really
challenge.
just want to
Agreed.
get in there and just garden.
It's
you
a
know?
challenge, and my property isn't even quite of a quarter an acre, right? And it's a challenge here. So absolutely, I'm not going to disagree with that. But for somebody who knew what they were looking at, the perimeter is 147 yards, and the area is 1,357 yards squared. Why? I don't know why it's squared.
I think my house is like 1,200 square feet, or 1,400 square feet. Just my
These
house
are
in
yards,
general.
right? So it doesn't
Yes.
correlate, but
Yeah.
feet. So let's do that. Okay, we can make it correlate, right? So your perimeter, if you were just walking it, it's 442 feet to walk your perimeter, but your area is 12,215 feet squared. So your house of, what did you say? 2,000?
You're talking about my house square footage. I think it's either 12 or 14.
12 or
1,000.
1,400?
Yeah. Like I said, you can just type my address in Google and it literally will tell you everything about my property,
Well,
my
I don't want to do that, right? Like I don't want to
yeah,
put
but it
that
just
out
gives
there.
you like the actual measurements and stuff like that. I just know what the realtor told me, but yeah. And there's a lot
And
of
so you could do this though for each little area, right? Like you could click it and then you
okay.
want to grab here as your first point, and then you can't make it curved. So this is where you would use that triangle or that,
It already curves. It's a fence. It's a
no, I
gate.
mean your measurement tool here.
Oh yeah, because I'm doing the rectangular method, right?
No, this is the Google Earth method, but
Oh,
you
okay.
can't make it curve. So
Oh.
if you want to find out a specific area, right, like this, okay, that
Mhm.
little area there, you have this that you'd have to take out of it if you were trying to be perfect. But this is what you would use for, yes, the rectangle method for each little plot. And some of yours measures out quite nicely. And you could actually, let's X this out. If you wanted to be more specific, you could add points, add points.
Yeah, I like that part because it kind of looks like, and then do the points of my houses so I can get an idea of where, like, my main
Right?
point. Yeah, that
Okay.
helps.
And so then we'll save that. Save feature two. No, okay, we won't. But that would be one. And you would measure that out. Okay. Then you would go and you would measure out the next point. And so that would be starting right here to right here to right here to right there. See how that's getting a lot closer to exact, right? And you could measure out your actual yard area like that, anywhere you wanted to on here. And it would give you that information. Very cool. Very interesting. So what did you guys think for the whole practice? Does this feel like something that you can put into play for yourselves, one of these methods?
I know I can. I'm sure
You
we
feel
all
like,
can. Yeah, it's something that I'm just gonna have to try, yeah, first time I've never done it. So, yeah, I would have to say I would have to try it and then, figure out what's best works for myself, you know. Yeah, I don't know, that's just me. I have to see it, feel like, okay, I like it, or maybe I don't like that like design, or maybe I, it just depends on what I'm planting in that area.
absolutely.
Especially in that area that you're at, that's like where the
Mm-hmm.
chicken coop is. That area is where the little chickies and like if I would have roosters and stuff like that.
That's
That
where you
is
want
the
to put it.
So that's where the chicken uh they for the house a built chicken coop. So they had either live so that area would be in my septic thing is over there. So I couldn't really plant anything. So I would just have to probably just grow necessarily because there is like, the septic is in that area right there. So yeah, I have to be really frugal where I plant my stuff.
Gotcha. That makes complete sense. And so, but it feels approachable, like you have a way to move forward now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mhm. And how about you, Benny? I'm not sure how much Vanessa or Irving heard, but does that feel really approachable for you, Benny?
Yeah, I could see myself doing the Google Earth method.
Wonderful. And did you guys understand what I was walking you through, at least to a degree, with the other two methods?
Yes, I could say to a degree. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Vanessa, Irving, do you have any questions, or do you want us to go over anything that we were kind of covering there that you might want to see again or understand a little bit better?
No, I came in late, so I'll catch it on when you put up the replay.
Absolutely, Irving. That sounds wonderful. All right, guys. Well, let's jump into our calendar, and we will be back together tomorrow for Let's Quit Together. Haven't had that for a couple of weeks as we're switching to that alternate week calendar, but hopefully you guys are all doing well. I'm not doing so I need a meeting for sure. For those of you who are interested, definitely join in tomorrow. Let's Quit Together at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Mountain, 4:30 p.m. Central, and 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And I hope you all have a beautiful evening. Please feel free to unmute and say good afternoon or good evening. It's probably not good night for anybody yet.
No, so in 2 more hours, right? Is it 6 o'clock? Is that evening?
I think it's
Uh,
really kind of objectional, or
it's
like,
almost 8 at my place, so it's
Oh
good
yeah.
evening.
Yeah, it's no chance in that area. You're in New York, right? Yeah, it's pretty dark right there.
Yeah,
It's still
snow,
bright and
ice.
hot out here in Cali still, but it's the sun's going down now. But yeah, evening would
O-
be 6, probably. I don't know, 5 or 6 to me. But
Okay, brag.
but I wake up hecka early. I wake up at 3 a.m. So like I'm a morning person. So this time I'd be like laying down, like resting and doing all that great stuff.
I'm
I was
kidding,
fully up
Tammy. I'm
at
kidding.
noon. I'm
Noon?
right, Irving. Yeah, we're kind of on exact opposite schedules there, almost, my lady. But
Yeah. At 12 o'clock would be like Tammy is either intoxicated or some and just forgot what time it was. No, I never woke up at 12 in my life, like sleeping normally. So if I did do that, that'd be because I didn't sleep in like 10 days or something. But no, 12 o'clock would be pushing that for me.
I
It's just
got you.
I think my body as a kid, like I would always wake up like at 5:36 because my mom took us to daycare. So, as a kid, we just naturally woke up at, 4 o'clock a.m. because my mom would start like at 5, so yeah, just came in the routine of waking up at that time.
It just
It's
didn't take with me, right? I've always been a night owl. So,
Yeah, I
all
didn't
right,
stick
guys.
with my sister either. She's like the most unpleasant morning person I've ever met.
I try not to be unpleasant, but I'm not a morning person. So.
Yeah, I'm just a bubbly person in the morning. She was like, Tammy, I just woke up, and I'm like, well, it's so good to be alive, you guys. I'm
That's
just
great. That's
energetic, you
wonderful,
guys.
right?
Yeah. All
All
right.
right, guys.
Well,
We'll have a wonderful evening wherever you are. Bye, everyone.
Bye.